This is the Corner Cutter Podcast, a consistent weekly show all about speed cubing, and you're listening to episode 49. Hey, welcome to the Corner Cutter Podcast. Podcasting since 2014, I'm your host Josh, and this is the most consistent cubing podcast dedicated to entertain and educate you with in-depth conversations with cubers from all across the sport. My website is thecornercutterpodcast.com, and thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any feedback on anything we talk about in today's episode, or you would just like to reach out to tell me you're enjoying the show, please email me feedback@thecornercutterpodcast.com. You can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and as well as on YouTube. I post the episodes on my channel, Corner Cutter. Today, we are jumping into the first Cuber Chats episode. It's where I bring a couple cubers on, this time 3. I say 4 in the episode because I was counting myself. This first episode went great. Some of the things we talk about are whether FMC should be a timed event, all about clock, and if you should buy expensive cubes when you're a beginner at that event, and of course much more. So we dive into some interesting topics as well. Today I am featuring Phoenix, SoccerTurtle, and Aedan, and this is all the first time on the podcast. Okay, welcome to the first Cuber Chats episode of the Corner Cutter Podcast. Today we have 4 listeners of the podcast on to talk about quite a different variety of subjects. So, first one, Aedan, welcome to the Corner Cutter Podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So, Phoenix, welcome to the Corner Cutter Podcast.
Hello.
And finally, SoccerTurtle.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Okay, so to get started, why don't we jump right into the first subject. Aedan, you have this one, and it's timing FMC attempts officially. Why don't you dive into that?
All right, well, I had this idea a little while ago. It might not be the most efficient because, people are scattered around the room, but I noticed that, there's a ton of ties in FMC, and maybe if you start timing FMC attempts like multi-blind attempts, then that could get rid of ties, and it would change the strategy of FMC a lot. Like, for example, if you get a pretty good solution, then you could go ahead and turn it in and get a good time with the same solution, or you could risk your time and go for a better solution.
Okay, does anyone else do FMC here?
I do it, but not really. I just do CFOP for my FMC solves.
Okay. Yeah, strategy, that, I think it would definitely, like you mentioned, change the strategy, but is that something we want?
I mean, it seems like it would affect the way you would approach it a lot.
I mean, it is fewest moves, so I think the reason the WCA has the 1 hour time limit is because just so the event doesn't just keep going and going, because, I mean, you could do one scramble for a few days and try to find the absolute best solution. So that's kind of just making a reasonable length of time to complete the solve.
Yeah, I would think it would still have the time limit. Yeah.
Now, I don't do FMC, but I do know a little bit. At least I know a little bit about it. I think as far as changing it to also being timed as well as like the fewest amount of moves, I feel like people would, if they feel rushed, like if they are they find like a decent solution right away, it's like you have to make a decision, like, do I turn it in, just go with it, or do I try and look for a better one? And if you don't find a better one, then you're just stuck with it, and you get a worse time than you could have had. So it's almost like you're also relying on luck in a way, hoping you find a better one, and if you don't, then yeah.
But FMC already relies on luck, partly.
Yeah, I guess that is right.
Basically it's basically just trying things over and over again until you get a good solution.
Yeah.
FMC is the only event where it's on some scrambles it's impossible to get the world record.
Yeah.
I mean, like, some scrambles for 2x2 are like 10 moves, but it's still technically possible.
Yeah, if you have a really high TPS.
Yeah. But FMC, if you get a 20-move scramble, it's impossible.
How would this affect world records? Like, there's so many ties for 19 moves, is that right?
Isn't there 4 of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 4 19s.
Yeah.
So, does it really turn into luck there if someone, like, on their first try doing a scramble and they get the 19-move solution, and then but a different person tries a bunch of things and it takes longer? So if only one person had a world record, it would completely be a luck-based event.
Yeah.
It would be not only just finding a good solution, but finding it quickly. So, I mean, it could also mess you up if you're, like, rushing and trying to find one, but you, like, mess something up. I mean, like, get something wrong, and then you could really screw up the whole solve.
Yeah. You mess up one turn and it adds, like, 10 minutes to your solution.
Yeah.
Or to your time.
Yeah.
And especially if you're rushing, that could cause some problems.
So switching gears a little bit, SoccerTurtle, I think you had this topic. Why don't you introduce your topic about advantages of different methods for different solvers?
Okay, so I wanted to talk about the advantages to different methods for different solvers. Like, if you are good at learning algorithms, is CFOP the better method? And if you're good at intuitive stuff, is RU the better method? Stuff like that.
What's your opinion on that?
I think that's true, and I think that different methods are better for different people. But I also think that people who are good at intuitive stuff could be good at CFOP, because F2L is a pretty big part of the solve, and you can do that intuitively.
Yeah. I personally use RU, and it's mostly intuitive, but there's a lot of, like, algorithms that you can use to improve your solve, and there's so many different ways you can do CMLL into LSC. Like, there's a lot of different algorithms that you can use, and it's way more flexible. So I'd say, I don't know, if you're into being, like, way more flexible and having so many different options you can do, then I'd say RU is better for you. But, like, if CFOP, you have, like, more strict stuff. So, like, you have to go, in that order, and it's more strict, and there's really only one way or a couple ways you can solve each case. So there's different approaches.
Yeah, it seems like, at least to me, CFOP is the most popular method because most people learn CFOP because it's the most popular method. I think if, like, more people used RU, or then more people would start learning it.
It's almost
Yeah.
it's like it the more it grows, the more, like, I guess, the more popular it gets, the more, like, people start learning it.
Yeah.
And I know, I use CFOP, but on my PB single, which is a 1219, I actually put in 2 F12 pairs before I started the cross because they were already made. But I think so for some people, I could see why Rue would be better, especially if you are not as good as memorizing, because I know in CFOP you need to memorize loads of algorithms. I could see both ways.
Yeah, I mean, my PB single, I have 3 8s. 2 of them are with Rue, and then my fastest one is with CFOP. And the CFOP one was, it was a really lucky solve. It was like a 4-move X cross, and it was just like a really lucky one. And then one of my 8s with Rue is a full step, and the other one had a skip. So, I mean, they can all be really fast, and it's just mostly like on some scrambles maybe CFOP's better, and then on others maybe Rue's better.
Talking about what Josh was saying earlier, when I learned CFOP, which is the method I use now, I had barely ever even heard of Rue. So if I had heard of it, I might have learned it instead.
Yeah, the reason I learned CFOP, or I was trying to choose a method back when Colin Burns got his 5.25, and I was watching some videos on YouTube that were you can learn to solve a cube under 30 seconds, but I think he called it the X's and O's method, where it was corners first and then edges. But then I watched Colin Burns' video, and he said he used CFOP. So I was like, nope, I'm going back to CFOP because I knew basic CFOP, but not intuitive or anything. So then I went back to CFOP. And
another thing that might make CFOP more popular is that most people, when they first start learning, they learn beginner's method. And I know that that's very similar to CFOP. It's almost the same thing. So, I mean, if they already know beginner's method, it might be easier just to do something that builds off something they already know.
Yeah, I know CFOP's way easier to learn. So, back when I was, averaging a minute, I started trying to learn Rue. But it was just CFOP was so much easier to learn. So I kept with CFOP. And then by the time I got down to, 20 seconds, Rue was way easier to learn because I knew a lot more about the cube. So I think one of the reasons most people use CFOP is it's way easier to learn.
I agree.
Yeah. It's also because you don't have to... It's like I said earlier, it's more algorithm-based.
Mm-hmm.
SoccerTurtle, I think you have an interesting topic about budget cubes. Can you dive into that?
Oh, yeah. So my topic was, should you buy budget cubes or a flagship when you are a beginner? Okay. I think you should buy budget cubes because you don't know if you're going to like the event or not. But there are a few exceptions, for Pyraminx and Scoob. Because they're so similar in price, I think you should just go with the best one.
How would you define beginner?
If you don't have a cube yet.
Okay.
If you know how to solve a theory 3, but you don't have a Pyraminx yet. Well, that's a bad example because I just said you should buy the best Pyraminx.
Mm-hmm.
With the Megaminx or something.
Okay. Yeah, I would probably tend to agree because... Except if the event is, I guess it depends if you are into cubing and have the money. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
I personally prefer to buy the flagship first because, I'm really into cubing and, I'm pretty sure that, if I get it, I'd be serious about the event. because one of my goals is to have a really good sum of francs. So when I was first getting like some of my cubes, I went for the flagship cubes first, so I didn't have to buy two of the same kind of cube. I only had to buy one. So instead of buying a budget cube and then liking the event and then going to the flagship, I went straight to the flagship to avoid having to buy another cube.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the first cube I got was a B cube. But after that, I got a Volk, which broke in a couple of weeks, but I got an SM after that, a Ganner SM. And I thought, Felix Zendig's used it in the world record, and I thought, well, if he's good with it, I'm probably going to be good with it. And I got it, and, I thought it was really good. But then, now, of course, I don't like the SM. I don't like the magnets in it, and now I kind of regret getting it because I spent, like, $50 on it, and I used it for a couple of months. But then I kind of gave up on it, and I think I would probably have gone for like a budget cube first, because if you get a really expensive cube and end up not liking it, then you got a $50 cube that you don't use.
Yeah, I would recommend trying the cubes at competitions first.
Yeah.
Or watching comparison videos.
Yeah.
I would say definitely for 3x3 and 2x2, especially, you don't need to get the top end cubes even when you're getting a little bit faster and getting more into speed cubing, because like my MF2S 2x2 is like super fast and doesn't like lock up too much or anything, and it's almost as good as my Wuxia M. And like the 3x3s nowadays are just so good, the budget ones. So
Yeah, and they're so cheap. Like
cheap.
Only like $5. So.
Yeah, I got a Yushin Little Magic, and then got some magnets online and set it up myself. So that was like maybe like $7 or $8 worth. And once I had it all set up, it was really good. It was really stable, and it was actually it could be my main. It's so good. And it was like 3 times less than my current like 354.
Or even the MF2RS. Or I mean the MF2 MF3RS2. What have you guys had any experience with, or do you own a Mr. Tank 3x3? I mean Mr. M 3x3 or a Tank 3x3?
I own a Mr. M.
I have a Xing Xiao gem, which is pretty much a non-magnetized Mr. M.
Okay. Thoughts on those?
So actually at a competition, my first competition, I traded a Scube for the Mr. M, and it was my first competition. I wasn't very good, but it was my first magnetic puzzle, and I really liked it. Or my second one after the SM, but I really liked it. But the problem with it is it's just too blocky. It corner cuts not very good at all. And the magnets are also clicky. They make a click, which is kind of annoying, especially if you turn really fast.
Yeah. If you want a cheap magnetic puzzle, my recommendation would be to buy the magnets off of eBay and then get the non-magnetic version and just magnetize it yourself. Because, I mean, yes, it does take work, but you can save, like, money by doing that.
I'm also not a big fan of the frosted plastic.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just feels kind of weird.
Me either.
And it doesn't help the grip that much.
It's like it's the budget Chi 4x4. Only used to come in stickerless frosted, and I did not like that. And the colors were kind of weird as well. But they just came out with the black plastic versions.
The Chi 1 one?
Yes, that one.
I have that one. The colors don't really bother me that much. It's only super frosted plastic, like the Shengshai gem, that bothers me.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess 4x4 might be another Yeah, I guess it's really how you define beginner. And then if hardware is giving you an issue and you absolutely know it's the hardware, then I would say upgrade to the top end one. Like recently, an example is Megaminx. I had the Qi Heng S.
Yeah, I use that one right now.
And I was like averaging just sub 2, but it just wasn't working well. Kind of slow and a few lockups. So I decided to get the mini. It's the
Galaxy V2?
Yes, thanks. And like I was sub 2 pretty comfortably then, and it was just a lot easier to use.
Yeah, I currently use the Huanglong 7x7, and I can average like around 5 minutes. And then at a competition, I tried my friend's WuGM, and it, no joke, dropped my times by 30 seconds. So that was insane. So that I'm getting the Haze 7, and hopefully that will help my 7x7 times improve like a lot.
Cool. Yeah.
One thing I would say on the topic, I used a RSC for a while, but my problem with it wasn't so much the blockiness; it was just the sticker shades and the tiles are really small, so my recognition was really bad, and my times were averaging like 25 seconds. And then a little while after that, I just recently got a Wonglong, and immediately after I got it, I started averaging like 19 seconds, just because it was and it's stickerless, and I guess I can just I could see I recognize much better with stickerless and with bigger tiles rather than the RSC.
One thing about the budget cubes and like 7x7 and 6x6, even budget 7x7 and 6x6s are like $20. So,
yeah.
Depending, like if you like 5x5, I would kind of just go for a good 6x6 because budget ones are pretty expensive anyway. Except they came out with the Usual Magic one, which isn't too bad.
That's an awesome point. Yeah, like I guess 7x7, like you can get the MF7, I guess it is, for $20, maybe 23, but then I guess not counting the Haze 7, but the Wuji 7x7 is like 30. I guess you could probably get it for 30 from China. So, I mean, I would upgrade. A $7 upgrade is definitely worth it there.
Yeah.
And like the Cubicle, if you don't want to pay that much money, the Cubicle usually has sales on a lot of their cubes, so you could wait for one of those and get a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, pretty much always, like, the Moyu Magnetic or the X-Man Scoob and Pyraminx are on sale for $10.
Yep.
That's when I got mine.
Yeah, I recently noticed. So, like, the Yushin Little Magic 6x6 is like $15 or $14, and right now, the Yushin Red is on sale for $22. So it's like $7 upgrade.
Yeah.
Phoenix, why don't you jump into your topic about overruling solves?
Alright, so, I think my, last time something happened, like, my Wi-Fi cut out or something. But anyways, I'll just kind of explain. At my last competition, I got a +2 on one of my solves, and the judge didn't notice it, and I didn't notice it, and, but the runner noticed it. It was off by like 45 degrees or something. So the runner, I had already left, and the runner went to the delegate, and the delegate came to me and said, the runner thinks that this is a +2, but I had recorded it, so I showed the delegate my recording, and they looked at the recording, and it was a +2. But because they looked at the recording, they ruled it a +2. And it's like, if I hadn't recorded it, what would they have done?
Yeah, this can be a hard one.
Yeah.
They were talking about that on Layer by Layer.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
kind of
they should put like a really cheap camera in front of every station, so they don't have to ask people to use their video.
Yeah. I personally record like all of my solves, and my dad does too for an alternate angle, and it's helped me a ton. Like, for example, when the judge writes down a number and the person who's putting in the times reads it as another number, and I see that on cube comps, I bring them the video and show them that it's actually this, and then they'll change it back down. So,
how often does that actually happen?
It's happened to me a lot for some reason. Like, I think at least 3 times. I think like the worst time was when the person read a 4 as a 9 in 2x2, and I had to go and have them change it. So if they hadn't changed it, I wouldn't have made finals. But since they did, I did make finals.
Wow, yeah, so that's pretty important. Yeah, being on the organizing side or running side of the competition, I can see how that happens quite often, because first off, judges don't write nicely, then the data enterers are doing everything quick, so it's very easy to mistake things. Has this happened to anybody else, like the overruling part, because they had a recording?
Well, I went to a competition yesterday, and the judge thought I did a turn during inspection, and my dad had a video of it, and he showed him it, and it didn't. So that kept me from getting a DNF.
Okay, that's good. So, yeah, it's really, if there wasn't a video of that, what would have happened? Who do you trust, the competitor or the judge?
Actually, I think they also went and checked the scramble to see how many tips there were.
Okay.
But, yeah.
But I guess that scramble is kind of wrecked already.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've had this happen at all. Last comp, they reviewed my solves just to make sure it was the right scramble, because I got 2 sub 3s. But I mean, I guess I've looked back at videos in the past of myself, and like in regards to Max Park's 6x6 mean being DNF'd, I'm positive I touched the camera after inspection has started because it wasn't at the right angle. And then I didn't realize that was not like a regulation till Max Park.
Yeah, there's some regulations that you don't know until somebody breaks them.
An interesting thing they were talking about on Layer by Layer is, like, what if the person doesn't want you to see the video? Like, if you're questioning, did this happen? Like, what would you do? Like, you don't have a video source for it. I
think if I were the person and like a judge thought I turned in inspection, if I were like the organizer, or the delegate, and the judge thought somebody turned in inspection, but the competitor doesn't think so, and then the competitor is not letting me look at the video, I would personally rule it as a DNF.
Yeah, that would make sense, because if they were lying and it would be a DNF anyway, might as well just rule it as a DNF to be safe. If they're refusing to show you the video. And then that comes back around to there should be a camera, even a cheap camera, at every station.
Yeah.
But then that's a lot of video, and how long do you have to keep the video after the competition?
Yeah. That's that brings up 2 points, because if they have a camera at every station, that means they have to buy all these cameras. And even if it is a cheap camera, then it's still times however many stations there are. That can add up, and the WCA, especially with like the championships, they can't. They need to be like making money rather than losing it. But the other thing is filtering through video evidence. Basically, if you have to watch every single video of every single solve, it would take hours. It'd take a really long time. And the only way I can see getting past that is only watching the videos of questionable occurrences.
Yeah, you could like put the judge, if they thought something wrong but not sure, they could like put like a star next to the time or something.
Yeah.
And another random thought is the speed stacks display. Maybe like speed stacks could make like a display with like a built-in camera or something. That's just like a random thought. I mean,
it would also be hard for some countries that don't have as much money as like the U.S. like to get the cameras so they could have competitions.
Yeah,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, the way it is, I mean, it's not like world records are being broken because of incidents like this. So it, like, does it actually matter if you get a +2 or not, or stuff like that? I mean, it is official, but adding all these regulations and these burdens for delegates and organizers and even competitors knowing what they can and cannot do, I'm not in favor of.
Yeah, maybe like just the regulation could be if the competitor doesn't have a video or there's no video evidence or the competitor doesn't want to show the video, it could just be like the ruling has to be against the competitor. So that would encourage competitors to videotape their solves to avoid that happening to them.
Yeah, well, here's a good question. What % of people actually video their solves?
I was judging a lot yesterday, and I would say like 3/4 of people videotape their solves.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, most people. Most people at least have like their parents there who are videotaping the solves. There's only like a few people that I see who aren't videotaping their solves. They're just like people who don't really care about the event and are just there, because, and they don't want to carry around a camera with them. And yeah. It's usually people who have been to a lot of competitions.
Aedan, why don't we jump into your other topic, clock? Okay.
So, clock is just one of those events that nobody cares about. I mean, I've gotten into clock recently, but just clock in general, like, there's barely anybody who competes in clock. So getting up in the ranks for clock is super easy. And then there's also the problem with companies not creating clocks. So companies are slacking off on creating clocks. My thought was maybe like square one, if a company created a good magnetic clock, then more people would start getting into clock because now they have a good clock. And like square one, which used to have bad hardware but now has good hardware, would become a way more popular event. And then there's a lot of people who want to remove clock, and it's just kind of like, well, should I practice clock and get good at it? Or should I not, because what if they remove clock and stuff like that? I mean, I've personally gotten into clock because barely anybody is, and it'll give me a good chance to have a good rank. So,
don't like clock, and I think I would like it a lot more if it was just better hardware. Because, like, I go to do a solve in my clock. It's just a regular Lingao. I haven't lived it or anything. Or Lingao, I don't know how you pronounce it. But then, like, it locks up or one of the pins gets stuck, and I just don't want to practice it, so I move on to a different event.
Yeah. Personally, one of the reasons that I've gotten into clock is because I have a good clock. I got a Lingao, and I magnetized and looped it and set it up, and it's actually really good, and it's motivated me to practice clock. And now I average like 6 seconds or 7 seconds. So like, it's motivated me to do like a lot of clock solves and get a lot way faster. But with people who don't have good clocks, and like before I had a good clock, I wasn't really motivated to practice because it wouldn't like turn.
Yeah, 6 or 7 seconds. That's really good. What? I have had quite a good experience with this. I sort of got into clock like the past few months. I was just using a regular Lingao, not lubed or anything, and I got down to around 23, 22 seconds, like very consistently. Best time was 19, I think. And then I decided to magnetize mine. So I ordered all the magnets and everything, then lubed my clock, magnetized it, and like within 5 solves I was averaging 16 to 17 seconds, and then after like a couple averages of 12, I got down to 15 average. So that can just show you what hardware can do, and it's like, it was so fun to solve, or is so fun to solve, now that it's magnetic and easy to turn and stuff.
Yeah. And, I mean, one of the reasons I think most people aren't into clock, and the thing that frustrates me most with clock, is you have to be really accurate with it. And it's really easy to DNF. Like, I wish they had misalignment +2s in clock, but they don't. So if you're just one turn off, it's a DNF, and that can ruin your entire average. So that's something that's really frustrating with clock.
Like, even the world record average has a DNF in it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the 4x4 and 2x2 clock?
I have.
I've seen 4x4.
By Baron Wong.
Yes. I just wish companies would, mass produce a good clock and mass produce maybe like a 4x4 clock. And that would be a lot of fun. Because I think clock's a different event. It's fun to solve. It's just a different event that not many people are into. And I think one of the main reasons is because it's not popular and not a lot of companies are making them.
Yeah, I think that's our biggest barrier right now, or at least first hurdle. We need someone to make a good clock. Like, how about an X-Man clock? That would be awesome.
That would be really cool.
I was talking about that with my brother, and we were trying to come up with names for it. We didn't think of any good ones, really. And
is a clock really that hard to make? It would seem, at least to me, a lot easier than making like a 3x3 or 4x4 or something like that.
Yeah, I think...
Do companies just not think people will buy enough of them? So it's like not worth their time. It's better producing like X-Men Shadow or something like that.
I think that's like the paradox kind of thing. Not many people are into clock, so companies don't want to make clock. But since companies don't want to make a clock because not many people are interested in it, then people aren't interested in it. I mean, so like, people aren't interested. Yeah. Yeah, so people aren't interested in it because companies aren't making it, and then companies aren't making it because people aren't interested in it. So just need a company to break that cycle.
And I think we have time for one more topic, and this one I came up with. I've been thinking about this, like, it's popped into my head a few times, and finally we can discuss it. My thing is, when the scrambler scrambles the cube, let's just say 3x3, just to make it easy, then throws it into the cube cover. Runner takes it to the station, flips it over, as some people like kind of hold it and put it down on the table, and then the judge lifts it off when the competitor's ready. Every competitor gets, or see, the first time they see the puzzle, it's in a different position. So is this an unfair advantage? If there's an easy case or easy cross or something, because we're talking about 3x3, is that an unfair advantage? Because if a different person got the other side of the cube, and it would take them a little while to see that case, I guess you could call it. So, what are you guys' thoughts about that?
Well,
I see your point on that, but there's not really a way to keep it in the same direction unless they, I can't think of anything how they could.
Well, I guess for 3x3 it would be easier because all you need is you would place it in white on top, green in front of the competitor, and that wouldn't be too hard for the runners to do.
Yeah.
But how would you keep it like that when you flip it over?
Well, you would kind of take it out of the cube cover, then rotate it in your hand, and then put it on at the same time, because I just turn the cube cover over quickly, but I see some people, especially parents, holding the cube and then putting it down gently. I guess that's a little better, but harder.
Yeah. I see what you mean, because sometimes when I look at it, I see something, and then later I'll see something else. So, if the cube was turned around, I would have seen the better thing first. And it's like with blind. Blind, you have to have it in a random orientation when they take it off. So I think that's an interesting thought, because, yeah, it depends on where you're looking at it. You might see something better first, and then you can go into that. Or if you look at it from the other side, you can't see the thing that was better, and you might see that later without enough time to inspect it.
That's the other thing. If you get it facing you, say red facing you and blue on top or something, then you might look around the cube, and then all of a sudden, with you're at 11 or 12 seconds, and you see a easy cross or something on the blue greener's face or something, and you don't have enough time to actually think, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then maybe you don't have enough time to look ahead. Whereas if you got it right away with green facing you or something, then you would have right away seen it, and you would have gotten 15 seconds to think it through. I don't know. I could see why that would give a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, and then you actually, if you see the good case right off, you have more time to inspect or even look ahead even more.
Yeah, and then it varies between color neutral solves and white solvers only, because no matter what, if you're a white cross solver only, you'll go straight looking at white, but if you're color neutral, you'll look everywhere. So
would having white on top, green in front give an advantage to white cross solvers since it would be on top?
I wouldn't really think so, because the edge pieces are all around the cube, and you'd have to look all around the cube to find them. So
I guess it's not that hard to find the white face. So, what about other events like Pyramix?
Yeah. I mean, that would be a lot harder because when you're putting it down, it wouldn't be like very obvious which side's green because the centers are, scrambled too. So it'd be a lot harder to enforce for Pyramix.
Mm-hmm.
And Skewb. Skewb, there aren't really any fixed centerpieces.
Yeah, this is interesting. If you guys have any feedback on this or any interesting things you thought of, please send in your questions or comments on this. Feedback at thecornercutterpodcast.com. Yeah, I think this is an interesting topic. I might have to post it on the forums to see what other people think. So, I guess that wraps up the first episode of Cuber Chats. Phoenix, thanks for coming on, and anything you would like to promote? YouTube, maybe?
I don't currently have a YouTube. I do. All I have on it is 2 solves from my last competition, but I just ordered a 354, so I'm probably going to make a video off that. I guess if you go nothing but cubing on YouTube, that'd be nice.
Okay. Aedan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Anything you want to promote?
I mean, I guess I'm Tipster Trickster on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel, and then I do some Twitch streams. I'm basically Tipster Trickster on YouTube, Instagram, the Speed Solving forums, Twitch. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. SoccerTurtle, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I have a YouTube channel, SoccerTurtle Cuber.
I'll have links to all those in the show notes to this episode. Thanks, guys. I had fun.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
I want to thank Aedan, Phoenix, and SoccerTurtle once again for coming on. We all had a great time. Remember, you can email me, feedback at thecornercutterpodcast.com. Next week is episode 50. I'm really excited for that. I have a fun show planned. You can still send in your ideas by email. And so that should be coming out next Monday or Tuesday. I'm getting back on posting on late Monday, early Tuesday, that schedule. So I guess it's time to take this episode back to the scrambling table. And I'll talk to you guys again next week in episode 50 of the Corner Cutter Podcast. Here's a few bloopers to entertain and educate you with in-depth conversations from cubers. Let's try that one more time. See you guys again next week in episode 50